Forbes suggests we get ready for a winter of discontent with layoffs, high inflation, and a plunging stock market. Just a month ago, stubbornly high inflation, a possible recession, rising interest rates, corporate budget cuts, and a headcount reduction were all likely to continue as Federal Reserve Bank Chair Jerome Powell continued to wage war against inflation. Since then, we have experienced most of these prophecies to come true. Walmart is one major retailer in particular that stands out after having let go and laid off thousands of employees at distribution centers before the holiday season really started to kick off. Millions of American jobs and families are at risk until Powell can get a grip on inflation. These are the warning signs. Americans are looking at a long, cold winter of falling stock and home prices, a litany of layoff announcements, and a contracting economy. Another abysmal inflation report offered a stark reminder of how volatile and fragile the United States economy has become. Expectations of further decline in the stock market, drops in the S&P 500, the NASDAQ plummeting as tech companies falter, and fear that stocks, along with real estate, will continue to decline in value. Many investors thought Powell was bluffing when he said that he must cool down the economy, and they overlooked his ominous message at the Jackson Hole Summit when he bluntly stated that there will be some pain as the Fed attempts to beat down inflation. Meanwhile, as runaway inflation continues, Powell has little choice other than to continue pulling the levers to cool things down, which includes causing an increase in unemployment. And this is a terrible time for Americans to have to consider unemployment as an additional burden to the already hurting and financially weak portfolios and social credit positions. Which brings to mind a sad story that I want to share with you guys that might make you rethink how you go about thinking about money and life. Because trust me, you don't want to end up old, broken, and with very few options like this nice retired couple. Or at least they thought they were going to be retired before getting hit with a hard dose of reality and a very rude awakening in their senior years. The simple fact is that money is running out and financial stress is driving retirees back to work. These people have dreamed of this all their working adult lives, and that one day they would retire. But now the money is running out and they are looking at their retirement savings and there's just not enough there. And seeing their retirement savings get depleted rapidly by increased costs, high prices, and inflation, while seeing job loss, job cuts, hiring freezes, and the beginning stages of mass unemployment has many middle-class American retiree families scared and worried. Even though Social Security recipients will receive an annual cost of living adjustment of 8.7% next year, the largest increase since 1981, they will still have a tough time managing with just the added boost of about $146 more per month. Will these folks even survive the rest of 2022 to see that increase begin next year in 2023? Only time will tell. The increase is aimed at helping Social Security's roughly 70 million recipients contend with the high inflation that's been devastating the U.S. American family budget since last year. Fortunately, senior citizens will see their Medicare Part B premiums drop in 2023, but I don't know if that will really be enough to offset the pain that they are all feeling right now, as it reduces the standard monthly premium by only $5.20 from 2022 rates. As of March, inflation has caused Social Security payments to lose 40% of their buying power since the year 2000. And according to a study released earlier this year by the Senior Citizens League, monthly payments would have to increase by $540 a month to maintain the same level of buying power as it did back in the year 2000. Seniors said they were struggling to afford food, housing, and other necessities starting last summer, 2021. And some were even down to just one meal per day and were even being evicted from their homes. Will they see a large increase in the future? An increase substantial enough to help them just keep up, maintain, stay afloat, and keep their heads above water, and lower their risk of the fear of becoming homeless in their old age? So the odds are not likely. A big jump in annual benefits could actually end up hurting some seniors, and here's why. Let's just say that an increase in benefits could push them above the thresholds for certain government benefits like Medicare Extra Help, Medicaid, food stamps, and rental assistance, which would leave them eligible for less or even worse, no aid. Or they could have to pay more for their Medicare Part B premiums, which are adjusted for income. So they could also have to start paying taxes or owe higher levies on their Social Security benefits if their income rises above a certain level. Not to mention, the increase could leave Social Security's finances on even shakier ground. The combined trust funds that pay benefits to retirees, survivors, and the disabled will be depleted by 2035 and only able to distribute about 75% of promised payments unless Congress addresses the program's long-term funding shortfall. Meanwhile, the maximum earnings subject to the Social Security tax will rise to $160,200 next year for 2023, which is up from the $147,000 this year. But something tells me that most of the viewers of this channel, based on comments and emails that I have received, don't even come close to reaching this new maximum earnings threshold, and more than likely are facing the risk of being fired and unemployed, which aligns with the Federal Reserve's plan to wipe out the middle class as they attempt to reset inflation and strip families of their hard-earned and, let's just be honest here, meager wealth. In fact, many American people are beginning to feel the opposite of the wealth effect. Uncontrollable inflation and tremendous drops in the prices of securities and home prices in some markets have folks feeling on edge and feeling less confident in the economy and are less willing or unable to spend money, start businesses, and take risks as things look bad now and the foreseeable future looks extremely bleak. The simple fact of the matter is that they are starting to get worried, and this is exactly what the Fed wants to happen. Powell needs to create a climate where businesses tighten their belts, enact hiring freezes, allow attrition by not replacing the departing personnel, and rescind job offers. Consequently, families seeing the constricting economy will pull back on their spending, mainly because they have no other choice but to spend less, because they will ultimately earn less and be worth less, and thus further contracting the economy. This will be a game that will see some winners, but realistically, many, many losers. According to a recent Financial Health Pulse 2022 U.S. Trends report, 69% of Americans feel financially unhealthy, and many classifying themselves as financially vulnerable. Less than 60% surveyed said they have at least 3 months of living expenses, with the study showing that middle-class people earning anywhere from $60,000 to $100K are growing concerned, in addition to the lower-wage earning people who feel financially insecure. So according to the New York Times, the top-tier investment bank Goldman Sachs announced that it plans to let go of bankers. This comes at a time as investment banking, mergers and acquisitions, and other deal-making activities have slowed down, and there's less of a need to keep highly compensated professionals on the payroll and lower their overhead operating expenses and costs. Additionally, most tech companies are significantly overstaffed as a result of being flooded with money in the market during the pandemic. The Federal Reserve kept interest rates at artificially low levels, and the U.S. government poured trillions of dollars of stimulus money into the economy, and thus the everything bubble emerged. This is coming to an end, folks, and you will recall I covered Intel laying off a large chunk of their staff just the other day. The day of reckoning is upon us, and many families are about to see their income and their savings wiped out as the Fed continues to clean house. Now that the seemingly never-ending free flow of funds and money from the government has been cut off and interest rates are on the rise, companies are cutting back. According to layoffs.fyi, a website that tracks employment levels across a variety of U.S. industry sectors, roughly 80,000 plus people have lost their jobs at tech companies. Jerome Powell and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen previously asserted that inflation was only transitory due to lockdowns and supply chain disruptions. Janet Yellen ultimately admitted that she was incorrect about her assessment regarding transitory inflation, and that will ultimately translate to millions of Americans out of work in the long run. Families that seem intent on spending, as you see airline flights and airplanes unable to accommodate the rush of travelers, crowded restaurants and bars, seats filled in at sporting events and concerts. The list goes on and on. Continued conflict between Russia and Ukraine continued to disrupt supply chains, which mean that prices will likely remain stubbornly and absurdly high. And Jerome Powell will need to continue to raise interest rates, which will further depress real estate and force people to walk away from buying a home because the monthly mortgage payments will be just too high for them to afford. National Economic Council Director, former president of Harvard University, and a top economist, Lawrence Summers, warned that the odds of inflation falling to 2%, which is the mandate by the Fed, is unlikely to happen anytime soon and would result in unemployment skyrocketing in the process and putting millions of Americans out of work. I want you guys to watch this video next and be sure to check out the Economic, Money, and Finance playlist with tons of important information and valuable content that will help you navigate these trying economic times. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Please comment below and tell me what topics you'd like me to cover in future videos. You guys take care, be safe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.